was my mom. It was her birthday. He was like, call her back. And he just FaceTimed her for like 20 minutes. And like till this day, that's like one of the best birthday gifts she'll say that she's ever gotten was there's a 20-minute convo with like Odell. And it's just like the type of guy that he is.
Interview prep, baby.
Pass the torch, man. Keeps getting better.
So today we have NFL player Tae Davis on the Pass the Torch podcast. Tae, thanks for joining. I know you're down in Atlanta. You're at OTAs with the Falcons, as we were just talking about, but thanks for joining the pod. How are you?
Man, I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So we're going to talk today about your journey in football and sports and all your greatest lessons learned along the way, but we'll throw it back to the very beginning of your journey in Alabama and growing up. So I guess when did you start playing football and when did you fall in love with the game?
So I think I started playing when I was around 6 or 7. Growing up, I did not like football whatsoever. Baseball was the sport I love. My grandma really loved like Chipper Jones and Andrew Jones, so she wanted me to be like the next big baseball player. So baseball would kind of overtook my life growing up.
You're not going to pull an MJ and retire in the NFL and then go play baseball real quick and come back?
Yeah, no, I've lost all of that skill set. There's no way I can play baseball right now.
That's great. And then throughout high school too. So when was it like, all right, you're a great football player, you're going to focus on football and try to get recruited for that sport?
So when I transferred schools, going into my 7th grade year, I was trying to just strictly play football. I figured that would probably be my, somewhat of my best bet in terms of just like skill set and everything. But even then, I really wasn't good in football. I just knew I loved the football, like the game of football. Right. Growing up as an Alabama fan, every Saturday, every game, like I was tuned in. So in my mind, even then, that I was going to be like the next, great player to go through Alabama and everything like that. So that's what kind of created that and started that passion for the game of football for me, and it just kind of carried on.
Got it. What was your recruiting process like? So obviously, like you had your mind, like you would love to go into Alabama. You probably didn't get the offers or anything like that from Bama, but when did that recruiting process start? And then you obviously went off to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And so when did they come into the picture and how'd you pick them?
So my whole recruiting deal was kind of funny, actually. Really didn't pick up much steam or anything through my freshman, sophomore year, like you normally hear, guys are doing now, or even back then. And even my junior year, I got hurt. I missed pretty much my whole junior year with a knee injury, and that pretty much killed, all hopes of recruitment or anything like that. So I didn't really start getting recruited until halfway through my senior year. I just kind of told myself that this is like a do or die type of situation, but most importantly, just to enjoy the time that I have with, high school classmates, teammates, and, friends that I'll have a lifelong and just create those memories. And as the season went on, I was kind of hearing a little bit of things. But actually, the first time I talked with Chat was the Monday after our last game that we lost in the second round to Bob Jones. And that Monday, we ended up talking. At the time, it was Coach West. We set up an official visit, and I went up there and ended up committing on an official visit. So it was one of my first offers, and didn't look no further and decided just to commit on the spot.
You must have had a good time going out on the campus that night.
I can't confirm nor deny that.
No, plead the fifth. So obviously, Chattanooga's FCS, right? So not right. FBS. And for people listening, the difference there is it's D1A is the Bama, and then D1 AA is Chattanooga. So were you upset when you didn't get a D1 or D1A offer, or was it was fine and you kind of were in this lane of D1 AA?
Just me as a competitor, I was definitely upset. But at the same time, I was grateful because I could have got like any offers and would have been wondering how I was going to go to college and just those different things like that. So I'm forever grateful, and looking back on it now, like I'm so happy that I decided to go to Chattanooga, and everything played out the way it did because it just made me into the person I am today.
Yep. Yeah, and so your career at Chattanooga, you're very successful, but I think really interesting point in your career, and correct me if this story is wrong, did some research, but your first 3 seasons you're playing safety, right? And then your senior year, you make that transition to linebacker. So it's kind of a big move for you non-football fans. Like you're in the secondary now, you're coming up in the front seven with the big guys. And so, was that switch something that your coach asked you to do? Was it something that you went to coach with? What was that transition like?
Um, so it's pretty funny. So we had a new coaching staff that our senior year, Tom Arth, and all those guys came in from John Carroll. And of course, once the new coaches get in, they are always watching the film and everything like that, just trying to get a look on what type of players they have. And I went up there and talked to him in the office, and they're just talking to me. And I was like, man, like you're a pretty good safety. I was like, but you look like you blossom, like you shine whenever you roll down into the box. I was like, yeah, okay. He's like, have you ever thought about, moving to linebacker? And I was in my mind, I was like, absolutely not. Like, no, do not move me to linebacker. Like, I'm a safety. Keep me at safety and all of this stuff. But I told him, couldn't tell the coach that. So I was like, yeah, like, I mean, I've heard it before. I've heard it my whole career that, I've always been a bigger type safety. So, but it just never happened. He was like, well, right now, I think at the time, like, we had a couple of injuries and was pretty thin in the spring at linebacker. So they were just saying that, wanted to help the team out, and just how the game was switching and heading towards that linebackers aren't your typical 250, like 260, or even it's rare you kind of see 245 linebackers now. But just the game is switching and is gearing more towards those smaller, like safety body type linebackers. And if it would be something that would give me the best shot at going to the league, I actually kind of laughed at him when he told me that, because I didn't think I had any shot to even go at that point. But ended up making the switch. Didn't know what I was doing. I just saw wherever the ball was going, and I just took off running. So,
Yeah, I mean, it worked, right? I think you led the team in tackles your senior year with like 74 or something. So clearly the move worked. And then when did you kind of accept that move? Like, was it in training camp? Did it take a few games? Was it week one? Like maybe the first hit when you filled the hole? But like, when did you fully accept the role of, okay, I'm a linebacker now?
I think it was towards the end of spring. I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, like if this doesn't go well, like they'll always just move me back. But it was no, it really wasn't moving me back. Once kind of instincts took over and everything, and I was making a few plays, it was like, okay, like I could maybe be really good at this. But at the time, my coach, linebacker coach, Coach Feeney, who's now out in Vegas with the Raiders, we sat down and just talked, and he was like, man, like you have a shot to be a really good linebacker, but you need to get better at just the techniques and just the different things what make a linebacker. And if you just work on that, like, the sky's the limit for you. Like, there's no telling what could happen. So that whole summer, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to be a linebacker. I want to be a leader on that team, and just try to work on my skill set, day in and day out. And I did exactly just that. And it helped out a whole lot. I mean, I was still a lot that I had to learn, but just to see the progress I made over that summer was crazy.
Right. And you said it. You said when the coach mentioned this would give you your best shot to go to the league, that was never in your mindset, right? Like you were never playing college football to maybe one day play in the NFL.
Yeah, no, like I mean, that was always my dream to go to the league, but just how everything played out for me during my college career. I mean, I was a backup safety for the first 3 years of my college career. Definitely felt like I could have helped the team out and played a lot more, but it just for some reason like that just wasn't what was in the picture for me. So I just kind of did my work on special teams and just enjoyed just being out there with the guys, and just kept telling myself that, I mean, football may not be going well like or how you want it, but you're getting a free education at the same time. So it's not really a bad situation to be in. So that's what I just kept doing, and my time finally came, and I just took it and ran with it.
Yep. And then your dream came true, right? When the Giants called and you signed with them. But the draft recently happened a few weeks ago. And I want to rewind to your draft process. So obviously you weren't sitting in the green room. You didn't expect to hear your name called day one, but did you expect your name to be called at all on draft day, or was it always you were going to go that undrafted route?
I don't know, man. Like I just had pretty like mixed feelings about that day 3 day. I mean, pro day went really well and everything. I talked to a few teams. I had a team call me actually that day 3, and it was like kind of reached out and was like, hey, like we're looking to try to draft you today. And I didn't want to tell like, none of my family or anything like that, because I just wanted to kind of save myself with the embarrassment if not. And it was tough. It was kind of crazy. That same team actually called me. They were a couple of picks ahead. There were a couple of picks away from them in the 7th round. So when they called, I started to freak out a little bit and everything. And then uh, the whole family, friends, and everyone started freaking out. So then they were calling. At the whole time, my mom and all of them thought I was getting drafted when they were just telling me like, "Hey, like we're not going to draft you, but we would love to sign you as an undrafted free agent." And just being able to have to just tell them just that alone, and just seeing their faces and realizing that okay, like you not getting drafted, like it was. I won't say it was embarrassing, but it was it was humbling, but at the same time, it kind of like it hurt. Like it definitely hurt, and you can just see the hurt on everyone else's faces, but. It's just another one of those things that kind of happened that made me a little bit more thicker skinned and just kind of had a bigger chip on my shoulder.
Right, right, yeah. So those draft calls are definitely a teaser, but you ended up in the right spot and you ended up in the league. So how does that process work for? Because even me not being familiar with it, so you go undrafted, and did you sign like a day later? How does that process actually work when you go undrafted?
So like once the draft ends, or even when like the seventh round is going on, like their teams out calling trying to set up like who they want to draft as an undrafted free
Right.
agent and everything like that. For me, outside of that one team, I really didn't hear anything. So after the whole little draft deal that I had, which was up in Chattanooga at the time, I just went back to my dorm room and just kind of I was really close to turning my phone off, but my mom told me at the time, just don't turn your phone off, just like keep it on and everything. So I just tried to lay down and just kind of get my mind off everything, and just trying to figure out like what I was going to do next. Like I was going to be able to kind of figure it out all in one night, but that's just not like how life works. And as I was getting like kind of in like almost like finna get taking a nap, my phone started ringing and calling and everything, and end up hearing from like 4 or 5 teams. And of course, the Giants was one of them, and during the whole process, like they were very interested. They sent both linebacker coaches down to work me out, one for a private workout, and then the other on pro day. So just talking with my agent at the time, and the family and all of that, we just decided that that was probably like the best team and best suit for me to go and actually be able to make the team. So.
Got it. And so so you go through training camp and you obviously have to make that 53-man roster, and there's that whole process. Rookie year, did you, or were you kind of practice squad? What was that scenario for you?
So I ended up making the 53-man roster, which was pretty funny because I kept telling myself that I wasn't gonna make it, and just trying to. Oh, I don't know why I was psyching myself out like that, but I just kept telling myself like, just don't get too excited. Like you may not even make the team, and I ended up making the team, and I found out through Instagram. So like this whole time during we like
Wow.
getting the cuts and everything like that. I'm hearing guys and they're getting called coming in and everything, and like a couple of our friends that I made just from the rookie class, we're all talking, we're all undrafted at the time, so we're still in the hotel, and we're just like, have you got called yet? Just asking each other. It was like, dude, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything. And I took a nap. I turned my phone off because I was to the point where I was about to throw up, and I turned my phone off, took a nap, wake up, still didn't hear anything, and then like 15 minutes later. I just so happened to get on Instagram and I see the Giants post that they the 53-man roster, and I just look down, I see my name, and not even a minute later, phone just started blowing up, and
Wow.
it was a crazy feeling, but I'm forever
That's
grateful
that's
for
the world we live in right now with
it.
finding out about your life through the media. So
Right?
that's interesting.
No, it
Yeah.
was it was
No, that
pretty
story
funny.
gives me chills a little bit. That's awesome. And so, obviously, what was there one thing in that camp in your rookie season with the Giants that you kind of focused on that like, all right, I want to do this to stand out to be able to make this roster? Is it like one thing? Was it a bunch of things? But what was your number one key ingredient to make that roster?
I mean, for me, being undrafted, I knew the number one deal would be special teams. So no matter how tired I was or like where it was or just anything, like I knew special teams was going to be my bread and butter and just to kind of get my foot in the door. And it was that. Like I had a pretty good training camp, with special teams and making plays during the preseason games and everything. And not only just doing that, but just showing that I can be able to play defense when that time was to come and all of that. So I think it was just a combination of the two, but just knowing that special teams is where you're going to make your impact at.
Right. Did you have like any welcome to the NFL moment during that training camp where you got like rocked or you maybe screwed up or like anything like that?
Other than just being like a rookie and just getting hounded by like, coaches and players just because you're a
Yeah.
rookie, nothing too crazy. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure my first one-on-one rep of rookie minicamp was against Saquon, and he got me pretty good. So like outside of that one, I can't really say that there was anything too much else that was like
Yeah.
my welcome to the like rookie moment. So
That was so you were. This is 2019, right?
hmm
Was Saquon a rookie then, or
yeah,
was
so
he
we were
drafted
all
before
came in
that?
the same rookie class. So me, him, actually Lorenzo, Grant Haley, Sean Chandler, B.J. Hill, R.J. McIntyre. Like, and I'll still like talk to a lot of those guys still to this day. And even when if I see some out, like we still talk and catch up. So we were a pretty tight knit group, and we still are right now.
Yeah. Is there any other Chattanooga guys that you played with that are right now in the NFL?
Corey Levin, Isaiah Mack, and we just have two guys that just signed undrafted. Actually, we got Devontae Maxwell, who just signed undrafted free agent with the Cincinnati Bengals, and McClendon Curtis, Big Kurt, out to the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm proud of those guys. Oh, and Cole
There you
Strange.
go.
I can't forget about Cole. Cole up there with the Patriots.
I'm in Boston right now, so I'm a big Patriots guy. So I'm a big Cole Strange
Oh
fan.
yeah,
That's great.
Cole's nasty, bro.
That's great. Little hotbed down there in Chattanooga. I love it.
Oh, for sure.
So back to your journey. You've been a kind of bit of a journeyman, right, in the NFL, and you've played a few seasons, played with a few different teams. And I guess how has that been on you, like mentally? Like, is it hard for you to like stay dialed in, always being on the move, like not being able to like really create a name for yourself in one space? Like, what's that been like for you mentally?
When I was younger, it was definitely a lot more like mental than anything else, and it was harder for me just because just kind of like how things played out, thinking that like you were going to be in one spot for the longest. But as I got older and kind of just realized like there are a lot of guys like that in the league that kind of play for multiple teams and end up having a pretty good career. And not 9 times out of 10, it's not so much of like what you do or like what you do on the field and things like that, but it just kind of comes down to business and kind of what upstairs kind of want. So I kind of stopped taking it personal in a lot of ways and just knowing that like, hey, like you're still doing something that you love and getting paid for. So that's kind of like my outlook on it now. Right now, like I'm definitely looking to solidify and create a name for myself, with one team, and hopefully like that sticks, and I just finish my career out here. So that's just been kind of like my mindset now. But if not, it's just one of those deals of like, all right, do what you need to do, and it may not be here, but you could be successful elsewhere.
Yeah, head down one step at a time mentality. I like it. So you're talking about right now and creating a name for yourself with Atlanta and the Falcons. So what's that been like? You're at OTAs right now, so you're new to the group. But how are some of the guys?
Oh man, the team is great, man. I love those guys already. You can just tell there's a close knit group. There's really no one that you feel like you can't talk to. Everyone's walking around with a smile on their face and just they're coming each day and ready to work. We attack the day and we're very aggressive and very attention to detail oriented with everything that we do, from working out, going through our meetings or just anything that we do. So you can just tell like the team is hungry for success, and that's what I really like. And it doesn't, you just don't, you have that really good feeling about the guys and just like the pieces that we are adding and just kind of going through training camp and just forming this team. So I think everyone, it's safe to say that everyone's pretty excited.
Yeah, I feel like there's some young energy down there for Atlanta, a younger group. And then speaking of like really talented young running backs, you guys just hauled in Bijan Robinson, so excited to see him. But yeah, what like I guess what does success look like for Tae Davis this season?
For me, first thing first is to be healthy. These last 2 seasons, I battled a lot of injuries and missed a lot of games because of those injuries. So that's just been my main focal point is to stay healthy and just get back to playing football and make it through a season. I know that's been a big downfall in terms of kind of these last couple of seasons of why I've kind of been moving around and everything. So I just want to be able to make the team get healthy and just be an impact, whether it's special teams, which I know I can do, or that's a role on defense. Is just to be healthy and just go help the team win some ball games.
Yep, I love to see you kind of embrace that special teams kind of mentality, and that's not a lot of at a lot of times, a lot of the players I feel like in the NFL don't do well enough. Is like, all right, I'm going to own this right now on special teams and go make a play on kickoff. So I love that mentality, and I feel like has your underdog background kind of given you an edge throughout your NFL journey?
Yeah, it has, and to a certain point, like kind of look back on college and things, and it's not so much runs out, but you kind of have that, but then something else where the team don't doesn't keep you after the contract ends or anything like that. It just kind of adds another fuel, just like adds fuel to the fire. And just like, okay, like, well, obviously they don't see my value and like my worth, so now I got to go out there and show them what they're missing out on, or why this new team should definitely keep me and stuff. So it's just kind of it's just year in year out. But no, man. But right now, what keeps me going and just keep me going, and just to just be the best and strive for the best is just my why. Just knowing that at some point I didn't even think I was going to be here, yet alone being going into my 6th year. But also, like, I want to be able to provide and set myself up and set my future family up for in the future, to where we won't have to really worry about anything. So that's what's pretty much driving me right now.
Yep, it's more than a game. Before diving into some rapid fire questions, my last question around kind of football is like, everyone and all sports fans picture being a pro athlete just being the greatest job in the world, right? Like, you're playing a game, making money. It's so amazing. But is there one thing that like people don't see that like isn't fun about being a pro athlete? Like, obviously it's a grind and there's a lot of hardships that come with it, and you talked about some of that, but like, is there maybe that one thing that the fans don't see that makes this job a hard life?
I'll probably say it's tough. My top 2 things that could probably go hand in hand is, I don't think a lot of people realize just how much we sacrifice, especially guys with families, and just being in the locker room with those guys. And I don't have any kids, but I look at as my little younger sister and brother as kind of like that symbol. And knowing that when I left for college and got to the league and everything, like, they were younger, maybe just now, one of them just now beginning high school or in middle school, and I look up and my brother, he's a sophomore in college, and my sister's about to graduate high school and go to college. So just knowing that you kind of miss all the birthdays, the school events, like you just miss so much just because of how demanding the job is. And the next one I'll probably have to say is just the mental health in a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of athletes out here in any and every sport that kind of have those mental battles, daily, or it's just very tough mentally. And I don't think, I won't say I don't think, I just think that a lot of people lose sight of just that part of it as well. Like, when it comes to just athletes, that we are human too. We go through different emotions, and one day might not be the best because that we're going through something, but we still have to kind of hold it in, flush it in, and just act as if everything is okay, and to go do our job. So
Yeah, I think that's fantastic perspective to have. Like, on your first point, like in a normal job, people can just take a day off and go be with their families. They're having a bad day. You can't really just take a day off in the NFL.
no, you can't.
Like that doesn't happen. So you got to show up to work, and it's a tough job. But around your point of mental health, I think that's super important, especially in today's age. TorchPro, our sports media company, so we have a bunch of different shows and podcasts, and one of them is a mental health podcast hosted by an NHL player and a former junior hockey player, and they talk about mental health in sports, and like they're normalizing those conversations with athletes. And it's just been such like a scary conversation, I feel like, for athletes to have it, like in the locker room or something. Like, you can't talk about like, oh, I'm dealing with this at home, or like something like that. It's like, oh, you're not like a tough guy, and it's like a tough guy sport.
Right.
So I think like breaking those barriers in the sport of football is super important.
No, it really is, and it's definitely getting better, and we've come a long way just from when I've been in the league. So I'm excited to see where it continues to go to.
Yeah, I feel like ever since like Kevin Love wrote that article about in the Players Tribune, and that kind of broke through with other athletes. So it's cool to see.
Right.
It's cool to see. All right, so some rapid fire questions, and then we'll get you out of here. I know you're busy down in Atlanta, but we can start one word, one phrase, take as long as you want. But who's your favorite athlete growing up as a
LeBron
kid?
James.
LeBron. So this might be the same answer, but who's your favorite athlete to watch in current day sports?
LeBron James.
Yeah. Well, all right. So how about this? I don't know if this will come out. This podcast is definitely going to come out after this series. The Lakers are playing the Warriors right now in the Western Conference semifinals. Who do you got? And
I'm going Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6. All right. So if that doesn't happen, the world will know if you were wrong or right. Who is the best teammate you've ever had?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Best teammate.
You can pick a few.
I could pick a few. All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna name 3. Michael Thomas. He was my actually my NFL PA All-Star game coach, and ended up being my teammate in New York. Christian Kirksey. I'm gonna name four actually. Christian Kirksey, Kamu Grugier-Hill, and Odell Beckham. Those are definitely like the top four teammates I've had.
I mean, I'm not one to judge, but I'm surprised that you said Odell. I guess just a little sidebar here. Why
Why
Odell?
Odell?
Why is he such a good teammate?
Because I've seen Odell, like, apart from what the media portrays, and say, like, I'm a big believer in that the guys just want to win. He's very passionate and very, again, detail-oriented in everything that he do, and I see the work that he does put in. And I feel like he does get kind of like an unfair rap in the media. And it's just a story I always like to say. My rookie year, it was my mom's birthday, and I'm sitting in the locker room, and I'm just FaceTiming her, talking to her while, she was on her break at work. And I hang up the phone. He kind of asked, he's like, yo, who was that? I was like, oh, it was my mom. It was her birthday. And he was like, call her back. And he just FaceTimed her for like 20 minutes. And like till this day, that's like one of the best birthday gifts she'll say that she's ever gotten was there's a 20-minute convo with like Odell. And it's just like the type of guy that he is. When I got to Cleveland, he was one of the first people, ironically, that I met in the building. And like we chopped it up and everything. And he was like, man, you're welcome at the house anytime. And that's just like, who he is. And I know a lot of other players can attest for that. It's the reason why, a lot of guys in the league respect him, not only just with what he do on the field, but off the field as well, because, he really is a down-to-earth guy, and you can always talk to him about anything.
That's awesome to hear. I feel like, yeah, like you said, like the media portrays him differently. And when he's kind of like has that outlandish characteristics on the field, maybe people are pulling that and putting a negative connotation on it. But really, he's just a super competitive guy that wants to win. And like that's a lot of the times what it is with these athletes. I feel like that are like that on the field and have these different outlandish reactions. Like they just want to win and they're trying to do everything they can to win. So cool to hear about Odell. Surprised to hear you say that, but it's awesome. Okay, a few more here. Who's your favorite music artist?
Oh, Drake. Easy.
Drake. What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear?
I'll let you take this deep or not.
I think my biggest fear will just be, that is a deep one.
You can go deep. Deep's preferred. Deep's preferred.
I think with me just growing up with a single mother and not really having my dad in my life, I think my biggest fear is when that time comes to try to not I won't say be him, but like I just want to be just like that Superman dad to like my family and husband. And I guess my fear would be not being able to kind of live up to that and uphold that, even though I know I can. I think it's just one of those deals where I just kind of put that pressure on myself just to be that.
It's awesome. It's awesome, man. Do you have any kids right now?
No, I have a dog though, so I might as well say he's like my son, so he's pretty spoiled.
It's the same thing. That's the same thing. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you went deep with the answer instead. So that's awesome. Last rapid fire. Then we have one longer question to kind of wrap up all the lessons that we talked about today. But last rapid fire. What is one word that best describes you?
Genuine.
Genuine. I can see that. So thank you for your time today. So we talked a lot about different lessons, as I said, about your journey in football. And if you have that one piece of advice that you want to pass along to the next generation to help them accomplish their dreams in everyday life, what would that one lesson be?
Just to believe in yourself, man. There's nothing out there that you really can't do. If I was always told that if your dreams and goals sound normal and just where people are like, oh, like you should be able to get that, like you weren't dreaming or setting like a goal for yourself that was big enough, and just to know that life doesn't come easy. Anything worth having will not come easy. So just don't give up and just keep pushing. If it's something that you truly want, go after it.
Keep going. And you sound like a genuine guy. Thank you for coming on today. I highly appreciate the time. I'm rooting for you this year. I'm rooting for the Falcons.
Yes, sir. Rise up.
See you guys do well. Rise up. So, yeah, thanks, Tae, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoyed the content. There's plenty more Pass the Torch episodes, along with other podcasts we got going on and video series we do. So subscribe, and we'll see you later.